Welcome home, y'all. It's good to see you. I was able to connect with some people online last week. That's awesome. So just welcome to this place that we strive to provide a safe place for you to grow and you to change your mind about God when you need to and yell out when you need to and not be so afraid of violating some kind of rule. So our goal here at Evolve, when we say welcome home, is just to create your own unique, deep relationship with your Creator. And then also to grow with us as a community. If you read the newsletter this week, as I know you all did, you already have an idea about today's message. Today we talk about yokes. No, not the running kind. Can't afford those. There's some other joke in there somewhere about egg prices, but today is we're going to talk about the yokes that are found anywhere working animals are hitched to something. Those things that go around the necks or the shoulders or whatever that helps that beast of burden to pull a plow or carry a wagon or cart people around or whatever it needs to be used. And we're looking at the yoke as the metaphor that's used throughout the Bible. Today we're going to address a very specific passage that's well known in Matthew, and then the plan is, we'll see what God wants to do, but the plan is then next week to talk about another very specific, very, very used passage that also discusses yokes. And see, the Israelites in biblical times were agricultural. So it's normal that all the parables we read about and all the things we read in Jesus' words tie to things that they knew. Just like, now maybe we would tie it to TikTok or something. It's, if he had brought up talking about the burden we bear for him can be powered by nuclear fusion, that wouldn't have brought in much of a crowd. So that's why you see so many things about farmers scattering seeds, or in this case, yokes. And it's, again, throughout the Old and New Testaments, this idea. See, yokes are used on animals like oxen and mules, animals traditionally known as beasts of burden. And they can attach from everything to plows, to everything from plows to wagons, sleds, all sorts of things. Some are light, some are heavy. They all have different reasons, applications for their use. And in the Bible, they are illustrative of subjugation or oppression often, or servitude in relation to people in forms of authority. The idea is someone puts this yoke on you, and it's not something you necessarily want. It's added burden. And that's why especially the Old Testament prophets talk about things like breaking yokes. I'll get there. But the way Jesus, like he's so apt to do in the Gospels, Jesus brings it almost full circle. He takes this symbol of oppression and connects it differently. Matthew 11, verses 28 to 30, quotes Jesus. He's talking to a crowd of just regular people. He had been teaching his disciples. He'd been going through stuff. He had actually kind of called out some of these places that, that weren't following him even after all these miracles and stuff. But through all this teaching, he says, "Come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am gentle and humble in heart, and you will find rest for your souls. For my yoke is easy, and my burden is light." So when I when I soak in that passage, it's one I've kind of struggled with before, like, who wants any yoke, and we use that to be like, attach yourself to God, be God's slave, do this work and do all this. But I don't think that's what Jesus was talking about. See, that passage insinuates that we are all faced with burdens. We all have heavy things that need to be moved or carried or toil or obstacles or things that we need to deal with. We carry our own stuff. Some legitimately as part of life. Some stuff we've added to ourselves that doesn't need to be there. Some stuff we're basically victimized by others. But however we get to that luggage or that burden, we have it. And Christ is acknowledging that there. He doesn't say, turn to me and you won't have any burdens. Or you won't have any yokes. He says, turn to me and you'll find rest. See, he flips the script. This was something viewed a certain way. In this case, he takes that implement viewed as oppressive, an item people like Isaiah talked about as being forced upon the people by conquerors. In Isaiah 10, the prophet encourages those who at the time were enslaved by the Assyrians to basically not lose hope because God is coming. And in this way, Isaiah 10:27 says, it shall come to pass in that day that this burden will be taken away from your shoulder. That's the burden placed on him by the Assyrians. And his yoke, the Assyrian king's yoke, from your neck. And the yoke will be destroyed. So we take this idea that yokes are, destruction, bad, bad, bad. And there are other verses. I won't go into them all because this kind of gives you the gist of it. But there are other verses throughout with the prophets and everything saying, this yoke will be broken. And even some of what I talked about last week, the false prophets were talking about it too, that, the Babylonians' yoke will be broken within 2 years. And, But it was all this, yokes are bad, yokes are bad. But what is often meant for evil, God turns to good. In this case, what is meant for a utilitarian purpose becomes a metaphor for evil. And God takes even that metaphor and turns it to good. So Jesus says in that passage in Matthew, not only do we all have burdens, but we have a choice of whose yoke we acknowledge or accept. It's not something Jesus is forcing us into. We can choose to take it on ourselves, and instead of viewing it as cruelty, we can see it for its original intent, to balance a workload rather than add to it. See, that's how Jesus takes things that man kind of ruins, like we tend to do. And Jesus says, no, this is the intent of my yoke. It doesn't say your burden will go away, but it will be lightened. Because my yoke is meant to balance things. Yokes are used on horses and stuff like that. But they're also that form of, there's the pole that goes across it. You can carry water buckets, things like that. Things that are hard to carry, but if you get them placed right, it makes the load easier. And in that regard, Jesus is saying, yes, work with me here, folks. You're going to take on a yoke, regardless, or more than one. It might as well be mine. Let me help you with that. See, Christ's offer for us to take his yoke alludes to the notion that we're all bound to some form of, not really oppression, but some form of way to handle our burdens. There's all some form of yoke. I hate reusing that word over and over, but that's, some harness, something like that. But we can decide what we put on and what we break, what we set aside for a while and maybe go back to later. See, the yoke in this case becomes all about our relationships. To ourselves, to God, to each other. And Jesus is saying, keep mine with you. And your burden will be lightened. Not taken completely, But the choice is ours, continually. We can buck against it. We can try to shake it off. We can actually take it off and break it and be done with it. Even then we can go back and God will heal that.
Or we can let it lead.
We can let it lead. But our perception of this yoke, of what it means, is what influences our decision on whether we take it on or not. You see, I always viewed this picture from this passage kind of like a single plow. Like, this is me, just a beast, strapped to something. I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know anything. I've got this heavy thing around my neck, and if I allow it, Jesus will guide me. It's hard work. I'm pulling this plow. I'm dragging him along too. But the benefit of Jesus is the whip he was carrying has been put aside because of the cross. The whip was like, oh, this is what you deserved, but I'm not going to do that because I love you so much. See, that was kind of my view of this. Like, well, okay, fine, I'll take the yoke. Still not a very encouraging view. But that's not how Jesus taught. So as I learned more about Jesus, I was able to kind of go, well, maybe that's not what he meant. And so my burden is light doesn't mean that because of Christ's death and resurrection, that whip is somehow spared begrudgingly. He's like, oh, I really want to use this whip, but I can't because I died for you. However, it's grown into a different view, at least for me, and I believe a better, a more accurate representation, in as much as we can get accurate with the love of God. It's not this single thing. It's not me doing all the work and Christ just steering or driving. It's a double yoke. It's not me keeping blinders on. And no, I'm not saying that God is a bull or anything, but, it's whatever journey I'm on, God's right here, if I allow it. It's whenever I stumble, my connection to God helps pick me back up. It's whenever I don't know where to go, God can steer the way, but not as like dragging me along. I mean, he will, but it's Emmanuel. It's God with me. And when Jesus says, take my yoke upon you, he says, my burden is light. You will find rest for your souls. For my yoke is easy. It's not my yoke, it's Jesus' yoke. My burden is light because I'm right there with you. And to me, that changes kind of everything. Like, okay, it's not some begrudging. I'm going to have a yoke because I've got to carry this burden somehow. And a yoke is designed to help balance that. And in this case, balance it among more than just one. See, God moved in my mind from out there, whether it's back there, up there, out there, whatever. Through this passage, God moves from just Jesus take the wheel. I don't know anything. I'm just going to, to Jesus be an actual part of my life. He is Emmanuel. He is God with us. And the thing about the whip, it's not that he begrudgingly puts it away. It's that there never was one. See, and that's what the cross proved. The cross showed Jesus is like, no, I've never hated you. I've never just had to hold back. Hold me back. Father, I want to get him. I want to smote him. It's not that. Jesus is like, you're not getting it. I love you. I'm with you. Stop trying to pull this on your own. Stop taking on this oppressive nature of people that say you have to do it this way. Or your burden would be lighter if you hadn't done this, or if you only did that, or if. If ands and buts were candy and nuts, we'd all have a glorious Christmas. Is that? Stop getting bogged down, and instead, go with Jesus. Let Jesus lead next to us. Not even I also fall into this trap of, okay, Jesus, you go lead. I'll follow. I'll be there. Hang on. I catch my breath. I'm coming. Jesus is like, no, I'm with you. I'm holding you. I'm holding this burden with you. And wow, how much lighter is that? And then yes, eventually we figure out what burdens aren't really ours, and that's kind of a whole different thing. But even while we're carrying things, even while we're dealing with stuff in life, even while we're dealing with everything from boulders in our way to really plowing some field, a place we've never been before, to just carrying that wagon load of life, we can find rest because we have someone with us. And it's not someone that we have to drag along. It's someone reliable. It's someone who loves us and who has proven time and time again that he loves us. See, and in this case, the yoke doesn't become an extra burden. It's that balance. It's that help for the burdens we already have. And Jesus isn't back there driving and leaving you alone with blinders on. He's right there. Right with us. And you're not alone. Let us pray.